we should be very worried about how money enters the real estate market, because a great deal of it comes in anonymously, and we don't know where it's coming from. And when that happens, and when you have situations like the New York City Towers of Secrecy, or situations like Miami, where we see that real estate is increasing, and you talk to realtors and you may find out that rarely do they even have to get mortgages, because people pay in cash, but we don't know the sources of this money. We do need to be worried, because these are not people who are occupying the buildings. These are people who are parking their money for other uses, but not using it as investment as we would think of an investment in a democracy. They may be using certain different mechanisms, but basically what they're doing is they are taking the money out in a systematic way, sharing it systematically with their cronies, whether we think of them as mafia states or family states. And it's very interesting because they're parking their money in the West. We don't see them putting their money in, we don't see the Ali family putting their money in Russia, and we don't see the Russians putting their money in China. Everybody is putting it in the West. What's fascinating about that is what we're ignoring from a policy point of view is that that gives us actually much more power, because we've got their money. And we are not exerting that power. We are allowing them to continue to build and to gain certain types of political leverage over us, when we could easily flip the situation. They choose the West as a place to hold their big dirty cash, because wouldn't you want to have your money in a place where there's rule of law? And you can use the courts and the systems that are fair and won't steal your money. Why would you put your money in another country where it might be unsafe? And that's why our courts, the UK courts, are being used, and that's why the money's funneling into the West. And there's a huge contradiction to this notion that they can bring in their dirty money and that will then protect it. And a significant piece of this contradiction lies in the West, in our system of enablement, that we actually allow this cash to be laundered in such a way that we don't require knowing the ownership of the people. There's no requirement for beneficial ownership, that we even have an offshore system that allows us to create these anonymous, fictitious companies whereby we can then so obscure the identity of the owners and where the money comes from, that by the time it gets to us, that it's cleaned up. We also have the major issue, as the Panama Papers are showing, of the enablers industry, this significant lobby, whether it's attorneys, accountants, and all the people, the middlemen in between, that actually clean this money up, knowing full well where it's coming from, and are benefiting enormously financially. So they have huge vested interest in maintaining these industries and, in fact, growing them.